Welcome to the Novaworks Learning Center. In this video, we will demonstrate how to add Level 3 tagging to the notes to financial statements. Level 3 tagging involves using the XBRL table text block elements to block tag each table that occurs within the notes to financial section of a filing. Some notes may have no tables within them. Some may have one, others may have multiple tables. Each of these tables must be tagged with an XBRL element to satisfy the SEC requirements. The contents of the tables must also be tagged separately. Much like the financial statements, you must tag each number with an element and a context to create an XBRL fact. That process, which is part of the Level 4 tagging, will be covered in another tutorial. For now, we're going to focus on only tagging each table as a single item. Tables in the notes to financial statements are typically presented in two ways. Some tables will include the header of the table within the table. Others will contain a descriptive header in the paragraph text above the table. Because of this, there are two different tools that you can use for tagging tables. The first is the Mark Level 3 function. This function is related very closely to the Mark Level 1 and Mark Level 2 functions we have used in previous tutorials. You can use the Mark Level 3 function to tag a paragraph, division, or heading block as the beginning of a Level 3 table. The Mark Level 3 tool marks the beginning of each table. All the data between this mark and the next mark will be included in the fact created by the first mark. As with the Mark Level 1 and Mark Level 2 tools, the software builds each fact by adding data to the fact until it encounters either another Level 3 XDX tag or a Level 3 N tag. If it encounters a new Level 1 XDX tag, it will also stop adding data to the fact. Because tables are often located a fair distance from each other in the narrative of the notes, you will likely need to use the Mark Level 3 tool to specify the end of each table as well. To illustrate, we will place the Level 3 XDX engram on the block preceding the table. This can be an empty block or a paragraph that has descriptive text. The software will add this block to the fact data, and then the next block, which is usually the table itself. After the table ends, we will place the end engram to signify that the fact for the table is complete. Since the software is building facts by appending the blocks to the fact data, you may need to exclude blocks if the table flows across a page break. As we mentioned in previous tutorials, the software automatically excludes GoFiler page breaks. If you use another page break or headers or footers, use the exclude block function to exclude that data from the fact. Finally, when inserting Level 3 engrams this way, it's important to place the tags consistently within the structure of the document, as we discussed with the Level 1 and Level 2 engrams. HTML paragraph, divisions, or heading elements that contain Level 3 engrams should be siblings. Because you would be placing the end engrams after each table, you need to pay attention to the parents of the block that contains the starting and ending engrams for each table. Separate tables can have different parents provided that the starting and ending engrams are siblings. More information on sibling elements and how to place XDX tags within the document is available in the Level 1 tutorial. The second tool that can be used to insert Level 3 tagging is the Mark Table function. This function can be used when all of the heading information for the table is included inside the table. You can only place this type of Level 3 engram on the table block, so if the table heading information is located on a paragraph, you will have to use the Mark Level 3 function instead. The Mark Table tool is very easy to use. If you watched the tutorial on tagging the financial statements, you're already familiar with how to use it. In addition to demonstrating these two functions, this tutorial will also demonstrate how to use the Mark Level 3 function to set the label for the table element. Setting the label using the Mark Level 3 function is only necessary for tables that are tagged using the Mark Level 3 tool. For tables tagged using the Mark Table function, you can set the label for the table directly within that dialog. Let's get started. I have our sample document open. I have already performed the Level 1 and Level 2 tagging for this document. My document contains 6 tables in the notes to financial statements. These tables are located in 3 different notes. Let's navigate to the first table, which is in Note 3, accrued expenses and other current liabilities. You can see that this table has some descriptive information in the preceding paragraph, so I'll need to tag that paragraph to include it in the table disclosure. Whether or not to include the preceding paragraph is going to be determined by the filer. A colon at the end of the preceding paragraph is usually a good indication that it should be part of the disclosure. I need to use the Mark Level 3 tool to tag the paragraph block. Place the cursor in the block that contains the beginning of the text that belongs with the table. Let's look in the management view to see where our tag is located in the structure of the document. The paragraph is a direct child of the body tag. To mark this paragraph as the beginning of the table, we will click the Level 3 button. This opens the dialog where we can specify the element for the disclosure. The Type field sets the type of engram. Right now, it's set to Level 3 Disclosure Start, which is what we want. Now set the element for the disclosure. You can type the element name or use the element library. If we open the element library, it is already filtered to show only text block elements. This includes text block, policy text block, and table text block elements, which can be similarly named, so just make sure that you choose the appropriate element. The label usually helps to identify which items are used for tables. Many table elements also have table in their names. Some table element names also have schedule as part of their name. Search for the element. Here's our element, Schedule of Accrued Liabilities Table Text Block. Click OK to select the element, and then click OK to add the engram. You can see the engram here in the P tag now. We have an empty paragraph after our table, which is good. This is where we will add the Level 3 end engram. Place the cursor in that blank paragraph. It's important to note that only one block engram can be placed inside an individual HTML block. If this wasn't a blank paragraph, but rather it contained a beginning of the next table, or the next note, or was basically any tagged item, we would need to insert an empty paragraph block first. So either add a blank paragraph, or, as in our case, just place the cursor inside the block after the table. Then click Level 3. Set the type to Level 3 Disclosure End. Click OK. You can see the end engram in the management view. Since we have just a few tables, I'll show you how to set the label for this item before moving to the next one. Because we are using the Mark Level 3 function, the software will use the default label for each table element unless we specify one. Using the tools in the software, we need to locate the text that is essentially the title of the table. This text is usually going to be in that descriptive paragraph. It's very important that you find the text for the label of the table somewhere between the start and the end engram for the table. If you can't find text that's appropriate to use for the label, you may need to add hidden text to your document. What the label should be is going to be determined by the filer. For inline XBRL, it's best if you can find the label in the visible text. Let's look at my example first, and then I'll show you other examples to give you an idea of how you can creatively set labels. Since we tagged the preceding paragraph as part of the disclosure, we can use anything within the descriptive text as a label. The text reads, "The following table presents the components of accrued expenses and other current liabilities in thousands." Accrued expenses and other current liabilities could be the label for this table. Let's go ahead and use that. Select the desired text. Make sure that you don't include any inline font tags inside your selection. Click Level 3. The type is already set to Level 3 Disclosure Label. Click OK. That added the engram to the document. The label will be set exactly as it appears in the document, which, as you can see, won't have the best casing for a title. Everything is lowercase since our text appears in the middle of the sentence. What can you do to fix this? Go ahead and capitalize the title as desired. I'm going to use the standard title case. Now I can use the HTML style transformation to set the text so it appears as all lowercase. Click on the font tag that contains the engram in the Management View window. This opens the Inline Font Style dialog. The XDX inline engrams are always contained in these font tags, which is convenient for us because it allows us to manipulate the formatting of the label text very easily. Click the lowercase option to set the transformation for the font tag. Click OK. Now all the text contained in the font tag appears lowercase. However, when an XBRL user consumes the XBRL data, the label is going to have the title case we set. And that's one option for the label. But let's say the filer didn't want to use accrued expenses and other current liabilities as the label for this table. Maybe our filer doesn't like any of this descriptive text for the label for this element. If that is the case, then we need to add some hidden text. I'm going to use the undo function to remove this engram and show you how to use the hidden text method instead. You can hide either inline text or a block. I'm going to use the block method to help keep it organized. So press the Enter key to insert the block. Type the text for the label as it should appear in the XBRL report. Select the text. Click Level 3. Click OK to set the label. Now make sure the cursor is inside that block. Then go to the Edit ribbon. Click Element Style. Click on the Element tab. And set the display type to None. The Display None attribute is going to essentially remove the element from the rendered HTML. It's going to remain in the code, so if someone looks at the underlying HTML code in the browser, they will see that block, but users won't see it in the browser or in the SEC's inline XBRL viewer. Click OK. You can see that the text is now gray. This indicates that it is hidden. You can toggle how GoFiler displays hidden text from the View ribbon. Click on the View ribbon. The Hidden Text button has a blue background, which means it is currently set to show hidden text. If you click the button, the block disappears. This is a more accurate representation of what the document will look like to a user who is viewing it in the web browser. Let's show the hidden text so that we can see the label. We've tagged both the label and the text for this table, so the Level 3 tagging for our first table is complete. Scroll down to the next table. We have another table with preceding text that should be part of the Level 3 disclosure. However, in this case, we have a paragraph with two sentences where the first sentence our filer does not want to disclose it as part of the Level 3 table, and the second sentence contains the heading information for the table. At first glance, this seems to be a complex problem. The current format really isn't easily taggable for inline XBRL. Because inline tagging must be nested properly, having content that starts and ends on different blocks doesn't work. Having an inline XBRL tag that starts in the middle of a paragraph but included data in the subsequent HTML blocks would cause a nesting error. If we were tagging this document directly with inline XBRL, we could build this fact using continuations. However, that would require tagging each fragment of the fact data separately, which can be time-consuming. In XDX, a Level 3 engram must be placed on its own block, such as a p tag. If we tag the paragraph, the unwanted sentence will be included in the fact. Excluding the sentence with an exclude would remove it from the Level 1 fact as well. If we split the paragraph, the HTML document won't match the original our registrant gave us. Luckily, HTML has some formatting options to help us solve this problem. Most HTML blocks can use CSS styles to change how they are rendered in the browser. That means we can take the p tag and change it from a block to an inline block. If you're not familiar with inline block CSS options, it basically allows an element to be positioned side by side with other elements. A block-level element always starts on a new line and takes up the full width available, stretching out to the left and right as far as it can. Paragraphs, divisions, and headings are all block-level elements. By setting these elements to display as an inline block, the browsers will not add a line break after the elements and allow them to sit side by side. Let's take a look at how to do this. First, we need to add the paragraph around the table heading. Place the cursor between the two sentences in this paragraph. Hit the Enter key. Now I have two paragraphs. We want to correct the display for each. Place the cursor in the first paragraph. Click the Edit ribbon. Click Element Style. Click on the Element tab. And set the display type to Inline Block. Why we choose Inline Block over Inline is simple. Inline Block respects the top and bottom margins and padding, whereas Inline does not. This means that if you have any top and bottom margins or padding set, the paragraph will continue to display with those settings. If we choose Inline, the margins would not be processed, so the paragraph would not match the style of the surrounding paragraphs. Click OK to set the display. Now place the cursor in the second paragraph. Click on the Element Style button. You can also access this function by right-clicking on the P tag in the Management view and selecting Element CSS Style. This time, set the display to Inline. For the second paragraph, we don't want any of the margins or paddings because it can cause display issues. Click OK. Now the document looks the same as it did prior to setting the display option. This is a limitation of the Page View Edit window, which will be corrected in a future release of GoFiler. If you proof it to a web browser, you can see the result appears to be a single paragraph. Now I can add the Level 3 tagging. Place the cursor in the second paragraph. Click on the XDX markup ribbon, then click Level 3. For this table, I'm going to create a custom element. Place the cursor in the element field and enter the element name. Click OK to set the element. Let's add a hidden text block for the label. Hit Enter to add a paragraph. You can see that it picked up the CSS attributes of the other paragraph, so the display is set to Inline. That doesn't matter now. Let's enter the text for the label and then we'll fix the display. So type the label for the element. Select the text. Click Level 3. Click OK to set the label. Now, click on the display type setting in the Management view. This opens the dialog where we can set the display. Change it to None. Click OK. Next, add the end engram for the table disclosure. Place the cursor in the blank paragraph after the table. Click Level 3. Set the type to Level 3 Disclosure End. Click OK. Let's scroll down to the next table. This one has a paragraph heading also. Place the cursor in the paragraph. Click Level 3. Set the element. Click OK. Add a paragraph for the label. Type the desired label. Select the text. Click Level 3. Click OK to set the label. And set the display options for the block to None. Next, place the cursor on the blank paragraph after the table to insert the ending engram. Click Level 3. Set the type to Level 3 Disclosure End. And click OK. We have a few more tables to tag, so I'm going to repeat this process for each of them. And that completes the Level 3 tagging for this document. Because all of the tables in this sample have paragraphs preceding them, using the Mark Level 3 tool was the way to go. I'm going to use a different sample document to show you how to use the Mark Table function for Level 3 tagging. So, I will stop here, and you can see it in the next tutorial, which is Tagging Notes to Financials, Level 3 Mark Table video. Thanks for watching.